Yes, it's already going. Okay, so completing the square. You guys already know how to do this whole front side. We just did problems just like this. So let's review. What is the formula? It says find the value of C. So by raising your hand, don't shut up, please. Who can tell me the formula for C? You should all know this. I shouldn't just have 2 hands. That's much better. What's the formula for C? Anthony?
C equals B over 2 all squared.
Excellent. B over 2 all squared. Okay? So we find B by going A, B, C, right? Okay, Sebastian, what would our B value be for number 1? It goes A, B, C. A, B, C.
Oh, negative 42.
Negative 42. All over 2, or divided by 2, all squared. Okay? Then we follow, please, excuse my dear Aunt Sally, and make sure everything's simplified. Make it bigger. Better? Now you can actually see it. Negative 42 divided by 2. Lexi, what is that? Simplifying the parentheses. What's half of 42? 21, and then a negative divided by a positive is a negative. So negative 21 squared. Would you put a star by that, please? Put a star by that, please. Because the reason I'm starting this is because we're going to see this number later. Okay? And it'll be on the problems in the next section where we'll see that number later. I just need to know, what is negative 21 all squared? Who has that for me? Tiffany?
Negative 441.
It should be negative. You need parentheses because a negative times a negative is a positive. 441. Okay? That's all we want on this section. Find the value of C. That's all you have to do. Okay? On this section. So go try number 2. Everything we're doing is your homework. So you're getting your homework problem. You already have one answer. Make sure you box it up, though. But you need to show all the steps along the way. You need a calculator. There's tons of calculators. Please go get one. Well, we're going to be coming back in just a sec. You're just going to do a couple of problems. So we're going to move ahead. I like
Yep. I don't care.
Okay. Are you catching on to what we were doing last night? All right. We're going to do number 3 together in just a second. I prefer if you keep your answer as a fraction if it doesn't divide nicely. For completing the square, it's actually more helpful, and we can actually do complete the square more by hand if we leave it in fraction form than versus a decimal. So let's look at number 3. We have to do C equals B over 2 all squared. Okay, so Drew, what is B going to be? On number 3. Yeah, good, negative 9. And you do need to take that sign with it. So we have negative 9 over 2 squared. What is negative 9 divided by 2? It's negative 4.5. It's a decimal. I don't want you to write the decimal. I want you to write the simplest fraction if it does simplify. Does this simplify at all?
No.
No. Would you star it? I want you to star when you're going to take the square. Now what we do is square them separately. Okay? Separately, Allison, what is negative 9 squared? You don't need a calculator. It means negative 9 times negative 9. Good. Positive 81. Over 2 squared. Davin, what's 2 squared? 2 times 2. That's what 2 squared means. 4. Okay, this is our C value. I'd rather you use the fraction. So 81/4 is actually a decimal, but remember the C is the number of green tiles we're putting in the corner to complete the square. Where did I get what? Negative 9 squared and 2 squared. Do you have a question? Can you put the Coke away, please? You can have water, but I don't want anything with dye or sugar in here. Okay, let's look at number 5. The first part is still the same, but there's a second question. It says, then rewrite it as a perfect square. That's showing the length and the width in a binomial form. Okay, so number 5, we already know how to do the first step. Actually, we know how to do the whole problem, but b over 2 all squared. Can I see fingers in the air, please? What is b?
30.
Fingers in the air.
Wait.
Up in the air.
It's the other way around.
But you have 2 hands, 1 for each digit, right? 30. Let's go this way for you guys. 30. Yeah? So, write it in. 30 divided by 2 all squared. It's important that you don't just type in your calculator. Hands off the calculators. You don't need those right now. 30 divided by 2 all squared. Don't just type it in the calculator. We need the next step written down. The next step is 30 divided by 2, which you don't need a calculator for that. Johnny?
15.
Thank you. Please simplify inside the parentheses first and put a star by it when it's simplified. Now you can use your calculator. 15 squared, which means 15 times 15. 15 squared, which means 15 times 15. Haley, can you get that for us? 225. Great. Then we come up here and fill in the blank with 225. So we have our C filled in there.
You put
Oops. Nope. Now we're going to write the perfect square binomial. We did this when we were answering questions on the last page. Remember, completing the square. We have our x squared. Then we have some carrot sticks, our linear term, on both the length and the width. In total, there are 30, but how many was on the length added and how many was on the width added? 15 and 15, because 30, we take it and we split it in half, divided by 2. So, what is the length?
X plus 15.
X plus 15. What is the width?
X plus 15.
Oh, look at this star. Is that the same number?
Yeah.
As long as you simplify the parentheses, which is why I want you to write that step instead of just typing it into your calculator, should be the same number. So the second part of the answer is the binomial, x plus 15 squared. Whoa, squared. Okay, that's a nice one because b was even. Because we can divide even numbers by 2, right? All even numbers divided by 2, it comes out nicely. What about number 7? Can I see fingers in the air? What is the value for b on number 7?
1.
It's not 1.
Negative 1.
Fingers up high so I know everyone's responding. Anna, what is b? Negative 1. Good. We have to divide that by 2, right? And then square it. Do not write the decimal. Does negative 1/2 simplify? No, so it's already simplified, yes? So when you're already simplified, put your star. Up above, we had to simplify. We had to do 30 divided by 2. And then when it was simplified, we put a star. Now, to get the C value, you square top and bottom separately. Okay? Emily, what is negative 1 squared?
1,
And then 2 squared?
4,
4. So we write 1/4. So we square them separately. That's your C, so you can go put that in your trinomial to complete the trinomial. 1/4. Okay, now we have to go write the perfect square binomial. So go back to the picture. Some of you can now already do this without the picture, but if you need the picture, we have an x squared, and then we have some carrot sticks, or our linear term on the length and on the width. In total, there was negative 1. But how many do I put here, and how many do I put here? Is it 1/4?
negative 1/2.
Isn't it negative 1/2? We take negative 1 and we split it, divide by 2. It'd be negative 1/2. And how many go here? Negative 1/2. So our perfect square binomial, because our green tiles go right here, we have 1/4 that goes right there. Our perfect square binomial for the length times the width is
X minus 1/2.
x minus 1/2. Oh, look at that star. Was it the same? Was it the same? Our simplified parenthesis, was it the same?
Yes.
Yes, it should be. Because do you know what a square root is? This didn't even dawn on me until like my second year teaching what a square root actually is. We take the square roots all the time in math. But visually, do you know to undo a square? The square root, because a square means we're two-dimensional, we actually have a shape that's a square. This means the length is x minus 1/2, and the width is x minus 1/2, and it forms a square. But do you know what a square root actually is? It's not half of the square. It's the side length of the square. One side length of the square. That's what a square root is. When you take the square root of anything, you're finding the side length of a geometric square, which would be one of these, x minus 1/2. Or this side length, x minus 1/2. But they're all the same length because it's a square. Okay, let's try one more of the odd. When b is odd, because I think that's when it's a little more difficult. Let's look at number 9. C equals, Jake, what's our b this time?
13.
Good, 13. We divide it by 2 and then we square it. So we need to make sure our parentheses are simplified. Alex, what is 13 over 2 in simplified form?
Wouldn't that be a decimal?
It is a decimal, but you can still write it as a fraction in simplified form. What's 13 over 2 as a simplified fraction?
I'm honestly not sure.
It's kind of a trick question I'm asking you. Riley?
Wouldn't you just times by 2 by 2?
We'll do that in a minute. That's coming up. But what's 13 over 2 in simplest form? Caitlin?
6 and 1/2.
Well,
13 over 2.
but what is it, Jake?
13 over 2.
It's already in simplest form. It's 13 over 2 because it's odd. We can't divide by 2, and 2 is prime. So the only thing that goes into 2 is 1 and 2, and 2 can't go into 13. So dividing 13 by 1 doesn't do anything. So it's all that was a trick question. It's already simplified. So when it's simplified, put your star because we're going to use that. And then now let's square it. Now we're going to do 13 squared and 2 squared. And you have a fraction for our C. We get the fraction when b is odd. It comes out nicely when b is even. Okay, Johnny, what's 13 squared?
169.
169. And then we all know 2 squared is 4. So that's your b. 169 over 4. Now, we're going to go get our perfect square binomial. However, the variables change. Pay attention to that. It is not an x this time, it's a y squared. How many carrot sticks do I add to the length? And how many do I add to the width? When in total, altogether, there are 13. 13 what? 13 over 2. I take my 13, divided by 2. Okay? Bailey, can you tell me what our perfect square binomial is, representing the length times the width?
X plus 13 over 2 squared, or y.
Y. Let's use the y. Y plus 13 over 2 squared. And inside this corner, we already answered this. That was supposed to be green, but the last teacher reprogrammed my green to be purple, so I forget about that. In this corner, how many green tiles are there? This is C. How many green tiles are there? 169 over 4. So it's a perfect square. Right. Okay, I want you and your neighbors, it looks like we almost did all the ones on the left. Why don't you and your neighbors go do number 8 together? You both. I asked you to find C and find the perfect square binomial. Huh? Oh, it's the same problem. Kidding. Let's do number 6. Some already found it's the same thing as the problem we just did. So do number 6, please.
Do you just calculate that?
No, you just have to. The only difference is it's a different variable. So you can still write the answer. That's a different variable. Do number 6. Find your C and then write your perfect square binomial. Good job. Good job. Is that my phone spazzing again? Whenever I talk too loud, sometimes it says, I cannot answer your request. Yeah, the voice command just went on. I think it's possessed.
Somebody in the fridge.
Probably. It's gotten slower since I put it in the fridge. So,
Maybe you should put it in the microwave.
maybe I should put it in the microwave. It's a bad idea. I put a cup in the microwave once because Sunday dinners with dessert, when I was growing up, we'd always melt peanut butter and pour it over our ice cream because we love ice cream in our family. Oh, so good. But the mug I put the peanut butter in to melt it had a metal trim on it, and I put it in the microwave. There were sparks everywhere. Don't put metal in the microwave. Bad idea. Also, don't put M&Ms in the microwave for more than 3 seconds. That's also a bad idea.
Why?
Peanut M&Ms. Because we were answering someone to a high school dance, and you can take a peanut M&M, put it in the microwave for like 3 seconds, and the shell will crack enough that you can open it, take out the peanut, put a rolled up piece of paper in the slot where the peanut used to be, and glue it back together with Karo syrup, so you can have like a secret message when you answer someone to a dance.
What if you eat it?
They have to find, and then you give them a bunch of M&Ms, and they have to find the ones that have your name or the guess inside of it. But for some reason, I had found this online or something, and I thought, oh, I need to put the M&M in the microwave for 30 seconds. Bad idea. It was my friend's microwave, and so we had to do a lot of scrubbing and cleaning before her mom got home because it like left a burnt spot in the microwave. Don't do that. 3 seconds. Okay, let's flip to the back. We're now going to, we've just been completing the square on expressions, which means there's not an equal sign. Now we're going to complete the square on an equation, which means there is an equal sign. See, we're almost done with that whole front page of your homework.
I need help.
I will when we get back to the work. I would like to get through at least 2 of these. So we're going to write down the steps, so stay with me. And the more and more you do these, because you guys are like, oh yeah, this finding C thing, we get it now. Because we've done a lot of them. So the more and more we go through these, the easier it'll become for you. So let's try to get through at least 2 more. I'm going to put the steps over here. Okay, the first step, we're going to do number 11. The first step is to make sure it's set up. Just like quadratic formula has to be set up. It has to be an ax squared plus bx plus c. Make sure it's set equal to 0, then it's easy. Well, this one is set up to equal to 0. That's good to go for quadratic formula. But these directions ask us to complete the square. When we're completing the square, we only start with everything that's orange. We only start with x squareds. And how many of these do we always have? 1. And then we start with, whoops, carrot sticks. What do the carrot sticks represent? X. We don't have any constants. We only look at things with x's, x squared and x. So our setup has to be as follows. We need to have, oops, let me write this first. Write down the steps. Setup. We need to have a 1 x squared plus bx equals c. Okay, so everything on the left is a variable. And then if it doesn't have an x or the variable with it, we want to put it on the other side. So everything on the other side of the equal sign has a constant. Okay, so I can see right now we need to move something. Okay, Isaac, what's in the wrong position? We need variables on one side and anything without the variable on the other side. So what's on the wrong side? Negative 49. So what's the inverse of negative 49, Isaac? The inverse means if I add it to it, it's going to be 0? There you go. Plus 49. If you have large handwriting, I would recommend writing small. It's going to take us about 5 or 6 lines. So write small if you have large handwriting. If you want to do this on a separate piece of paper, because you have large handwriting, use a separate piece of paper. So this cancels out. So for step 1, I have b squared minus 12b equals 49. And so I have my b's on one side, and I have my 49 on the other side. And let's make sure it's actually 1b squared. Is this 1b squared?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's good to go. If that's not a 1, which we'll see in a minute, we have to do something to get rid of that, the number. But we want a 1b squared. Okay, now the same process is the same. We're essentially completing the square on the left-hand side. What's the first thing we do to complete the square? What did we do on the front page? Over and over and over. Find C. So we need to find C, and that equals b over 2 all squared. We need to find the number of green tiles. True? I'll come answer your question after we're practicing one. Okay? The green tiles is C. We need to find out how many we need to add in the corner so it makes a perfect square. So we're going to do step 2. C equals b over 2 all squared. Okay, John? What is b this time? Here's our setup. I like to put an arrow so I can find the setup again. Good, negative 12. Negative 12 divided by 2 all squared. And then we have to simplify, right? Negative 12 divided by 2, you don't need calculators for this. Negative 12 divided by 2?
6.
Ooh, negative 6. That's important. All squared. And that's simplified now, so I'm going to put a star because I'm going to use that number later. And it's 36. Excellent. So once we got C, which was 36, then we have to go put it somewhere. Where do we put it?
In C.
In the C spot. Where's the C spot? In that empty blank right there? Yeah, so we have to go add it to the equation. But if we add it to one side, don't we have to add it to the other side?
Yeah.
So we're going to add C to both sides. That's step 3. So I like to put, when it's set up, I like to give myself an arrow so I remember where the setup was, because I'm going to rewrite the setup version. I'm going to leave a space, and then I'm going to add C to both sides. And C was, ooh, that got larger. C was positive 36. It's a plus. That just, my marker got huge when I changed the color. That's plus.
Do you add the 49 and 36?
We're going to do that next, yep. So on the right-hand side, we're going to sum them. So step 4, the right-hand side, we're going to add them up, which means sum. Find the sum. What's 49 plus 36?
55.
85? Is that what y'all said? On the left-hand side, we can do this. We have, I'm just going to draw a picture down here. We have b squared. How many characteristics do we put on the left? How many characteristics do we put on the right? Negative 6, because it's half of that, which is, isn't that star? This is called the perfect square binomial. Essentially, you could even do tic-tac-toe method. Tic-tac-toe method gives you the factors, the length and the width. If you want to go through the tic-tac-toe, great, but this is faster if you remember this number is the number you use. And that's why I said, ooh, careful, when some of you just told me positive 6, has to be negative 6.
Is that the answer?
No. Okay, so the left-hand side of step 4 is we want our perfect square binomial. I'm going to erase this sum. Perfect square binomial. And the right-hand side, all we did was we just added them, which means sum. Okay, the directions asked us to solve. Solve means we need to find the value of b. We're now at a point where we can find that value of b. So we're going to solve for the variable, and then we're done. with that instruction. So this is b minus 6 all squared. B is trapped in the parentheses, so you have to undo the square first. What? No. No. We want to undo squaring. It's not dividing. Square root. The inverse of squaring is taking the square root. So everyone put a square root on both sides. Okay? Now we apply the square root ourselves. Make sure you have all the steps written down. Make sure you have all the steps there on the right. Write it down, please. We apply the square root ourselves, which means we have to do a plus and minus. Plus and minus square root 85. Does 85 break down? It does. 5 times something is 85. Can you figure it out? I don't know.
15.
Do it on your calculator. 85 divided by 5. 17. Are 5 and 17 going to create a pair? No, and they're both prime, so they don't break down anymore. But you need to check to see if that breaks down. On the other side, the square and the square root cancel out, so we're left with b minus 6. To get b by itself, we have to undo minusing 6. Plus 6. Now, this is not 85 plus 6. Those are not like terms. The 85 is in the radical family because it's actually root 85. The 6 is in the integer family. Do not add those together. That's a huge mistake people make. The 6 goes in front of the plus or minus. Because in order to add or subtract the root 85, you have to have something to start with. So we have 6 plus or minus root 85. That equals b. That is your answer. As long as you made sure the square root was simplified. It's a lot of steps, but the more and more you practice it, it'll get faster and faster each time. Now, I also have on the top of your paper, I want you to graph this. So, in your calculator, you need to type in 6 plus root 55 and get my approximate decimal so we can graph it. 6 plus root 85. You all have calculators, so you should be able to type that in. Did you type that in? 6 plus root 85. What are we getting? Well, you can do another piece of paper then. 5, 10, what is it? 15.2. So a little bit after 15. And then if that's already in your calculator, you can go second enter, and it's kind of like copy and paste on the computer. Second enter, and then all you have to do is change the plus to a minus sign instead of typing all of that again. We also need to know where 6 minus root 85 is. That's in the negatives. What negative is that?
3.21.
So 3.2 negative, which is about right there, and then completing the square is always positive. So draw a parabola through those. You can in 8 minutes. Okay. Okay, we're going to go through another problem. So it'll be faster this time because you know the steps. I'm going to copy these steps and paste them down below so that we can see them. Maybe. Oh no, don't freeze on me. You can do it, computer. I believe in you. I believe in you. Come on. Oh. We need half of them. Oh, don't make me. Maybe I'm pushing the wrong button. There we go. Okay. We're going to go down and do number 19. I really don't want to have to write all those again. Because the camera's on, it really doesn't like the camera.
Whoa, back off that stuff.
I'm trying to just copy them. Come down here and paste them. Okay, I'll have to write them again. I'll just write them really quickly as we go. So, if you have already written them once, you don't need to rewrite them. The setup is what's important at the beginning. it must be 1x squared plus bx equals c. But we must have a 1. Wow, that went big. Okay, this is not ready to go. We have a mixture of variables and constants. So Leanne, what's on the wrong side? Negative 48. So how would we move that, Leanne? Plus 48. Good. Add 48 to both sides. Again, remember to write small if you're using this worksheet because there's not much room. Okay, put the calculators down. You don't need those right now. Bring down what's left. 3m squared plus 18m equals 48. Now this is not set up yet. Can anyone see why this is not ready to go? Yeah? It doesn't have a 1m squared. It has a 3. How do we get rid of 3 times m squared?
Divided by 3.
Divide by 3. Sebastian, are you writing? We have to divide every term by 3.
Why every term?
Because if you do it to one thing, you have to do it to all of them, right? So I'm going to put my arrow because this is my setup. Now I have 1m squared plus 18 divided by 3 is 6m equals, what's 48 divided by 3?
16.
Thank you, 16. So it's set up. Second step, find c, which equals b over 2 all squared. Fingers in the air, please. What is our c? Fingers in the air. What's our c? Put it nice and high. Not very many people are responding right now. What is our c? Comes from our setup. That's why I draw this arrow. It is not 18. Comes from when it's set up.
6.
It is 6. So 6 divided by 2 all squared. And don't use 18. You need to use the setup. Drew?
I thought that was B. 6 is B. They said we'll find C, so
Sorry. Yeah, I misspoke. We are in the process of finding C, but in the formula, yes, it's B. Sorry, that's what I was trying to get, but I did say the wrong letter. You're correct. So B is 6. Don't use the 18. Use the setup. 6 divided by 2 is the next thing. Sebastian, class is in here. Sebastian, what's 6 divided by 2? We need to simplify that. 3. Since it's simplified, put your star, because we're going to use that. Okay? Rachel, what is our C value after we square? No, it's not 3 times 2, it's 3 times... No, don't use a calculator. 3 times 3. 9. Now we take that C value, the next step is to add C to both sides. So I take my setup, which I put my arrow in so I can find it again, which is just the line before, and I copy it all down, but then I need to add what number to both sides?
9.
Good, plus 9 to both sides, my C value. Because the left-hand side will now create a perfect square. But if I add the 9 to one side, if I give the left side 9 green tiles, I have to give the right side 9. Okay, then we sum. 16 plus 9 is 25. And we have to write our perfect square binomial. Think about the picture. We have m squared, and we have carrot sticks here, carrot sticks here. Fingers in the air. What's the length? M plus how much? Up high in the air. Don't say it. Don't say it out loud. Just put it up in the air so I have everyone responding. Haley? Okay, what are we doing at the... I know she wasn't here last time. What are we doing with the 6? We have 6 carrot sticks. We're going to break them apart. What's that? Divide by 2. So how many would be in each group? 3. So this one has 3. This one has 3. Okay, which is the starred number, right? It should be the same. It should even have the same sign. Now you solve for m. The inverse of squaring, you have to get rid of the squared. What's the inverse of squaring? Square root. When you apply the square root yourself, you must put plus or minus. the square root already existed, it already chose a sign. If you do it yourself, you need to put plus or minus. What's the square root of 25? Plus or minus 5. And this one just has n plus 3,
No.
because those cancel out. Minus 3, minus 3. But remember that number needs to go in front of the plus and minus. So we actually have two problems. Negative 3 plus 5, because the root went away this time. And negative 3 minus 5. We have two answers. Negative 3 plus 5. Allie, what's the top answer? 2. And I'm just trying to see if Abby, what's the bottom answer? Negative 8. And then we can easily graph those. Negative 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2. 2. Graph them, put a parabola through them. I hope you wrote down the steps. So your homework is to finish this worksheet. We pretty much did almost the whole front side. Okay? Your homework is to finish the worksheet. We'll answer questions on it next time. Remember, you need to bring your homework next time from the packet we did last time, or you'll be calling your parents.